My name is Paul Hebert. I'm on the Wicked Tuna show for 11 years. I own the boat Wicked Tuna, and I came down to Conley GMC.
On the small screen, Paul Hebert always appears with a hearty smile and a burning passion for the sea.
Here we are with our new door, right?
Woohoo!
They're the best lights. The reason why these...
But few know that behind the image of that captain lies a life piled high with tragedy. This is not just the story of a television fisherman, but a journey of surviving storms both on the open ocean and within his own soul. Join us as we uncover the untold truths about Paul Hebert, the man living on the edge of fame and shame, of stage lights and backstage shadows. Paul Hebert was born to live with the sea. On February 15, 1965, in Marshfield, Massachusetts, he came into the world in a family that had nothing but fish, but not just any fish, bluefin tuna, the colossal species worth tens of thousands of dollars, a symbol of power off the east coast of America. Paul grew up in Gloucester, a place he called the School of Fishermen's Souls. There, no one teaches you how to hunt fish. You live with it from the cradle. His father, Donald Hebert, was a legend on the open water. According to Paul's account in National Fisherman, Donald once caught over 100 bluefin tuna a year during the peak of his career. Not just a skilled fisherman, Donald was an inspiration, creating his own philosophy about the sea. No one beats the ocean, but if you learn to live with it, you can outlast others. Paul didn't just learn the trade from his father. He learned to think like the sea. At age 8, on a trip with his father, he caught his first tuna, weighing over 100 pounds. With a hand line, it wasn't merely a feat, it was a rite of passage amid raging waves. Paul later recounted in an interview with Cape Cod Times, "I didn't learn like others learn a trade. I lived in the sea, like someone born on a farm knows what a cow is before they can read. I knew the smell of tuna before I could swim." His family had 6 brothers, all fishermen. But it was Paul who brought that legacy into the modern world, blending traditional techniques with the allure of television. Before 2012, he was just a commercial fisherman working on various boats, big and small, from Massachusetts to Florida. He once shared with Gloucester Daily Times, "I slept in air-conditioned engine rooms full of oil, ate cold sandwiches, fought waves, fought people, and fought fish heavier than myself." The year 2012 marked a turning point. Paul debuted on the reality show Wicked Tuna on National Geographic, a platform where captains compete to catch bluefin tuna. Initially, he was a crew member on FV-Tuna.com, led by his close friend Dave Carraro. But his strong personality and strategic disagreements led him to leave after the first season. Paul refused to play a supporting role he wanted to lead. From Season 2 onward, he became captain of his own boats, FV Bounty Hunter, Miss Samvka, Kelly Ann, and finally, Wicked Tuna, the vessel tied to his name from Season 5 to now. Success didn't come immediately. In Season 5, he placed second with $104,600. In Season 6, second again with $59,000. It wasn't until Season 10, after nearly a decade, that he won first place, earning $53,303 a victory, seen as a late-blooming reward for a man once cut from the show's starting lineup. What made Paul stand out wasn't just skill, but attitude. Fans loved him because he was real sweat, real anger, real fight. He didn't act for the camera, he lived as he always had before the lenses appeared. Fans called him the true soul of Wicked Tuna. In a reality TV world where many characters come and go like bubbles, Paul stayed through every season, every storm. For Paul, fishing wasn't just a livelihood, it was how he existed, where he found value, and the last wall keeping him from collapse before life began to take more than it gave. The most painful fall. If most viewers know Paul Hebert through scenes of him shouting, "We got a giant," on the deck of Wicked Tuna, Few would guess that at that very time, Paul was also standing before the bar of a U.S. federal court. The scandal began in 2009 when Paul was living in Barre, Vermont. He applied for Social Security and Medicaid benefits, claiming severe disability, unable to perform any labor, drive long distances, lift heavy objects, and having no income or assets. In his application, he stated he lived alone and owned no vehicles, all under oath before the law. Initially, his application was denied, but at a 2010 hearing, with seemingly credible claims and no counterarguments, SSI approved monthly benefits for Paul. At the same time, he was granted Medicaid healthcare support for those unable to work. From 2010 to 2013, Paul received a total of over $34.55 from SSI and more than $9,000 from Medicaid, according to federal prosecution records. The truth, he wasn't just healthy, he was working full-time on fishing boats off the Atlantic. Paul also failed to report any income from fishing or TV contracts, though by law, any income changes must be reported to the Social Security Administration. The airing of Wicked Tuna on National Geographic in April 2012 became undeniable evidence. Many people, including investigators, began questioning how a fully disabled person could operate fishing equipment worth tens of thousands of dollars and battlefish weighing up to 500 kilon. On July 28, 2015, Paul was formally indicted by the U.S. Attorney's Office in Vermont on 4 counts of federal fraud, including SSI fraud, Medicaid fraud, making false statements to obtain government benefits, and intentionally concealing actual income. If fully convicted, the penalties could have been up to 5 years in prison and $250,000 in fines per count. The scandal immediately exploded across media and social platforms. In a stern statement, Special Agent Philip M. Coyne of the Office of the Inspector General for Health and Human Services said Mr. Hebert deliberately lied to profit from a program meant for the disabled and poor while he was clearly healthy and appearing on national television. Scott Antolik, a senior SSA agent, also sharply criticized. This case is a prime example of the system being exploited, hurting those who truly need help. Facing a wave of criticism, Paul initially pleaded not guilty in August 2015, but later, he agreed to plead guilty to 2 of the 4 charges under a plea deal with prosecutors. His lawyer, Paul Volk, argued that the fraud mainly occurred before Paul signed his TV contract, and that he didn't intentionally continue violations afterward, merely forgetting to report income. On June 8, 2016, the U.S. District Court in Burlington sentenced him 4 years of probation instead of prison, a $5,000 fine, and an order to repay a total of $53,660.50 in wrongly received benefits. Per the ruling, Paul had voluntarily repaid the full amount before the trial, which was considered a mitigating factor. The court stressed that this conduct undermined public trust and caused serious harm to social welfare programs. The Wicked Tuna fan community split sharply. Some harshly criticized, calling him a two-faced man, a person who faked poverty and disability to siphon government funds, then appeared as a hero on TV. Conversely, some fans, especially on Reddit and Facebook, argued Paul had made amends, repaid the money, and deserved forgiveness. A notable comment on the Wicked Tuna Nation fan page read, "Who hasn't made mistakes? The difference is, Paul faced it, paid it back, and still chose to stand on his boat." Paul stayed silent after leaving court. He made no public statement, avoided the press, and steered clear of early episodes of the next Wicked Tuna season in 2017. Though not fired, his screen time was noticeably reduced for a period. It was the biggest pause in his career and the most painful fall of Paul Hebert's life. But the hardship didn't stop there. It even knew the exact moment to take what no money could redeem: the pain of losing the father. Not long after overcoming his legal sentence, Paul Hebert faced the most heartbreaking battle of his life, losing his father, the man he revered more than any lawyer, colleague, or viewer ever knew. Donald Hebert passed away between late 2020 and early 2021 amid the raging COVID-19 pandemic in the U.S. at a nursing home. And Paul couldn't be by his father's side when he took his last breath, as he was filming a new season of Wicked Tuna Outer Banks in another state. Due to strict pandemic restrictions and the tight filming schedule, Paul was stuck between the ocean and an unforeseen departure. In a conversation with fans on Instagram Live, Paul choked up as he recalled, "I only knew Dad was weak. I called, but no one let me see him one last time. When I got the call that he was gone, I was at sea. I collapsed on the deck. I've never felt the sea so cold." Donald's death wasn't just a personal loss. It was the complete collapse of a spiritual pillar. After Donald's passing, Paul went completely silent on social media for over 2 months. Posts stopped. Comments went unanswered. Some fans even suspected health issues. When he returned, Paul didn't mention the funeral, will, or anything personal. He posted just one black and white photo, an image of himself standing alone at the bow of his boat, amid thick fog. The caption had 3 words, "Still fishing. Dad." That photo spread across the Wicked Tuna fan community, with thousands of shares. Donald's death also closed a symbolic chapter in New England's fishing industry. For years, the image of father and son Hebert steering boats, arguing, and singing at sea had been a unique hallmark not just for show fans, but for traditional fishermen, a fading breed. There was no public funeral, no media memorial, but anyone who watched Wicked Tuna could tell after his father's death, Paul was no longer himself. In later episodes, he smiled less, swore less, and was less larger than life. The sea was still blue, the fish still big, but the man who once shouted boom after every catch became quieter, more reserved, and more pained. One death, one absence, and a part of Paul's soul went with his father, forever. But at that same moment, Paul didn't just lose his father, he lost the right to exist. Death rumor. In early 2022, as Paul Hebert prepared to film the next season of Wicked Tuna, shocking news spread rapidly online. Paul Hebert had died. The source was a post on a small blog under the section Breaking Fishing Industry News. The article, posted in February 2025 but claiming the event occurred on January 15, 2022, stated, "Paul Hebert, star of Wicked Tuna, is reported to have passed away from a heart attack while fishing off the Massachusetts coast. No confirmation, no verified sources, no citations from medical authorities or family, but that didn't stop the news from spreading like a virus. Facebook fan pages, Reddit, and Twitter began mourning, sending condolences. Some fans even created tribute videos for Paul Hebert, hours after the rumor broke. A day later, the Wicked Tuna media team posted a rebuttal, confirming Paul Hebert was alive and filming the new season. But it wasn't fast enough to prevent the emotional toll on him. In a short video reposted on Instagram, Paul quietly said, "It's crazy to open your phone and see people think you're dead. I know I've done wrong, let people down, but no one deserves to be declared dead while they're still breathing." Those words sent chills through the fan community. A man who faced the law, lost loved ones, and was cornered by social media's darkest sides, now had to speak up to prove he was alive. A Twitter comment read, "Being killed by a rumor hurts more than being judged for mistakes." They owe Paul an apology. The incident also raised a major question about the danger of fake news and the speed of social media spread. Paul wasn't the first victim killed online, but he was among the rare few who stood up after the rumor and said, "I'm still here." According to the Poynter Institute, from 2022-2024, at least 27 U.S. celebrities faced false death rumors, mostly from unverified sites, automated bots, or fake social media accounts. For Paul, the fallout wasn't just confusion. He said he temporarily locked his personal Facebook for a month after the rumor, maintaining only the official Wicked Tuna media accounts. "I needed to shut everything off to hear my own heartbeat again," Paul wrote. Though he later resumed normal activity, Paul no longer engaged personally as before. Posts became commercial, updating voyages, fishing photos, but nothing about himself, his feelings, or his past. That silence, for those who know him, was Paul's way of holding on to what little remained after all he'd lost. That remainder, literally, was just himself, alone. Loneliness the deepest cut. Paul has never married. He has no children. Both parents are gone. And his 5 brothers, once fellow fishermen, have stepped back from the media. None living with Paul. Though his brother Bruce sails with him on Wicked Tuna, Paul's life on land is nearly void. In a rare reply to a fan page comment, he once wrote, "I have the ocean, the boat, the wind, but no one waits for me at the harbor." That line spread among fans as a sad message, poetic, but steeped in despair. After the TV spotlight, after shouting triumphantly over giant catches, Paul returns to a small wooden house near the Gloucester docks, where only the wind whistles through the windows and waves crash in the distance. You can survive a scandal, you can overcome loss, but living with prolonged emptiness, year after year, that's a different battle entirely. Paul has never shared about his romantic life. Across all platforms, from press conferences, interviews, to social media, there's no hint of a long-term partner. A friend in the industry once told Cape Cod, "Current Paul has many acquaintances, but few truly know who he is." He doesn't talk about emotions. When he lost his father, he didn't cry in front of anyone. He just quietly went to sea. Fans noticed that since 2022, Paul no longer attended community events or fan meet and greets as before. Live streams from the boat deck dwindled, then nearly vanished.